George Berkner, you and I go back to the infancy of the Meadowlands. Can you remember your first ever Meadowlands drive?
Yes. I was in the first race here, and I was in the post parade, and I was looking at the skyscrapers saying, I just grew up over there, and now I am over here, bigger than Yankee Stadium.
It sure was, especially that night, opening night.
That night, yes it was.
And how'd you do in the first race?
I finished a good fourth.
It was, I think it was 1976, the first year they were open, and I was nervous. I was just a young kid. I was very nervous. Here I'm driving against Buddy Gilmore, Benny Webster, Ray Rimmon, Teddy Wing, the best drivers in the world, and here I am, a green driver, just got my A license, and I'm going out there to race against these guys. I was pretty nervous.
So you were in awe and kind of intimidated by those guys?
Well, they were all my idols, you know, and I looked up to them. I checked up a lot of horses for them, looking after horses back then, and so now here I am driving against them. It was quite a feeling to be out there with those guys.
But I remember you won with a horse called Sepp like twice in like 4 days when you were 21 years old.
Yeah, that was Sepp. That was a couple years later. I think the horse's name, my first start here was Split Decision. I did something really stupid. I got away back, and I couldn't wait to get going. And I think I tipped him 3 deep at the quarter pole, and that's where I stayed the rest of the mile. It it didn't work out very good.
I think it was a 2-year-old landslide filly in the Sire Stakes, and it might have been, I don't know, 89 or 90. Yeah, I didn't do any good, but it was a great thrill just to be here, being in the front paddock, you know, with Campbell O'Donnell, Jack, and those guys, and you know, it was special. I didn't do any good, but it was just, you know, this place is the Mecca, and it was just great being here.
Yannick, you've been driving here now, what, 6-7 years regularly? Can you take us back to that first ever Meadowlands drive? What was that like?
I don't remember the first drive, but I remember the first win was actually with my dad's horse, DG's Gold Rush. You know, he was a good old horse for my family. Like my dad had good lucks in Canada with him, and we lost him actually when I was just training him, and then he came back in a 15 climber here. We bought him back, raced him in a 15 climber, and he won. That was a pretty good trail. And actually, my dad surprised me from Canada. He wasn't supposed to be here that night, and but he was here for the first one.
Brian, we saw you as a regular here in 2003 on, but what was your first ever Meadowlands drive? Can you recall that?
No, I think I had probably 4 or 5 in that night, but you know, it's a great spot when you're going behind the gate and you look over and you got Micallef, John Campbell, Ron Pierce, a lot of Hall of Famers, and it was a great experience.
How long did it take you with that group to feel like you belonged?
You know, not that long, but it was a really receptive place to drive, and you know, it was very professional, and I still, to this day, catch myself sometimes looking around at the drivers and who I compete against on a nightly basis, and you know that these guys are nothing but the best.
Mike Micallef's here, and Mike, tell us about the first ever time you went behind the gate at the Meadowlands Racetrack. What were you thinking?
It was nice. Lights. I was 20 years old. I think I win my first drive here.
That's got to be a pretty good feeling, huh?
Yeah, it was good.
Now, were you when you saw the kind of guys you were in with, you know, those kind of drivers, did you say to yourself, what am I doing here?
I was too young to realize it.
Joined by Dave Miller. Now, I know it was the 1990s, Dave, your first ever Meadowlands drive. Can you remember who that was and what it was like racing here at the Meadowlands for the first time?
Yeah, it was Falcon's Future. I came out for the Niatros, and it was pretty exciting. You know, first time I ever was here, and it was a big thrill for me.
You're young enough, you should remember this right away. The first time you came to the Meadowlands, first time you stepped on the track, first drive here, what was that like? Tell us about the anticipation, and what did you feel like when you went on the track?
It was definitely a rush. The first horse I drove here was Artificial, and it was definitely a good feeling.
Well, Artificial is a pretty good feeling for anybody. Did you have any idea when you drove him, I think it was Berry's Creek, right, that he would turn out to be the kind of horse he did?
Oh yeah, he always he showed a lot of speed, and he definitely felt like a good horse.
Tim Tetrick led the nation in earnings 3 years in a row, but I want to know about that first ever Meadowlands drive. Can you take us back to what that was like?
Oh, it was a lot of fun, very exciting, and you know, it's just a blast to get to come out here when I was 19, 21 years old. It was just a big feat for me. I don't just the thrill of getting to race at the Meadowlands, because this is you know, this is the king of the crops. This everybody wants to race here.
Were you intimidated at all when you first got here?
I never intimidated, just nervous, excited, and you know, I'm never intimidated. I always thought I had talent and always believed in myself.
So it did work out for you pretty well.
So far, so good. You know, hopefully I can make it 4 years in a row with leading money, and you know, I just want to stay healthy and enjoy my life.